Style isn't just what you wear, it's power, resistance, and a statement about who you are. Imagine walking into the most elite fashion event in the world after spending years in the political spotlight, where every outfit choice was scrutinized for diplomacy rather than design. That's exactly what former Vice President Kamala Harris just did, stepping out of political shadows and onto the iconic Met Gala red carpet for the very first time. While political figures have disappeared into obscurity after leaving office, Harris is taking a dramatically different approach. Since January, she's maintained such a low profile that even mundane outings cause social media frenzies. A Broadway show here, an awards ceremony there, each rare public sighting became an event in itself. When she attended a performance of Gypsy in New York, social media exploded with photos and commentary. Her appearance at the NAACP Image Awards in Pasadena generated similar excitement. Even something as ordinary as visiting the Brentwood Farmers Market turned into headline news. But Monday night changed everything. The Metropolitan Museum steps transformed into Harris's stage as she ascended in a breathtaking custom creation by Off-White. Not just attending the gala, but embodying its very theme: Superfine, Tailoring Black Style. The moment marked a fascinating evolution for a woman who had spent the last several years in the constraints of political dress codes, now free to express herself through high fashion, on one of the world's most photographed red carpets. Let's talk about this dress for a moment. Creative director Kamara didn't just design a gown, he crafted a statement. Heavy black and white cady silks gave the dress what Off-White described as a deep, luxurious texture. But the real visual power came from its dramatic elements. A sweeping statement sleeve on one side, creating asymmetrical intrigue, a flowing scarf that added movement and grace, and a perfectly pleated skirt that honored the night's tailored-for-you dress code. The contrast between the structured tailoring and flowing elements created a visual metaphor for Harris herself, disciplined yet fluid, powerful yet graceful. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff complimented her bold choice with elegant restraint, appearing in a classic Brunello Cucinelli tuxedo. Their appearance together spoke volumes about partnership, him supporting her moment without attempting to share the spotlight, a dynamic that has characterized their relationship throughout Harris's political journey. For anyone who's followed Harris's career, this fashion moment shouldn't come as a surprise. She's always communicated through clothing choices. Remember those practical Converse sneakers that became her campaign trail signature? They spoke to her approachability and pragmatism, connecting her to younger voters while demonstrating she could be powerful without conforming to traditional political uniforms. The pearl necklaces she frequently wears aren't just accessories, they're a connection to her Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority traditions, honoring the community of Black women who have supported her rise. And who could forget the coconut brown Chloe suit she wore while accepting the Democratic nomination? That wasn't just a color choice. It was an assertion of identity and belonging, a visual statement that she was bringing her full self to that historic moment. Harris understands the language of fashion as communication, not just aesthetics. Each choice tells a story. Each ensemble carries meaning beyond mere fabric and thread. What makes this Met Gala appearance particularly significant is how perfectly aligned it was with this year's exhibition theme: Superfine, Tailoring Black. Style explores how Black dandyism represents self-determination and resistance concepts that have defined Harris's own boundary-breaking career. The exhibition positions the Black dandy as an icon of resistance through elegance, using style as a form of cultural and political expression. For Harris, who has navigated spaces where she was often the first or only, this resonance couldn't be more profound. As the first woman, first Black American, and first South Asian American to serve as vice president, Harris has lived the experience of using presentation as both armor and expression. Her Met Gala appearance isn't just fashion, it's a continuation of that tradition, now liberated from the constraints of office. Harris herself acknowledged this powerful connection, telling Vogue, "Art has always had a significant impact on not just culture, but also our policies and politics. Artistic expression, whether it's dance, music, visual arts, or fashion, has a way of capturing the mood and language of the people without words. Art has the power to shape the conversation about where we are today and where we need to go. That's not just elegant rhetoric. It's a philosophy that seems to be guiding her post-vice presidency path." By choosing the Met Gala as one of her first major public appearances since leaving office, Harris is signaling that she sees cultural influence as deeply intertwined with political power. She's recognizing that sometimes a fashion statement can communicate ideas that political speeches cannot. IB Kamara explained the vision behind Harris' look with similar depth. For this monumental night at the Met celebrating Black culture and iconicity, we felt simplicity is best. Utilizing a mix of silk fabrications and precise tailoring, we added subtle flares, allowing her own dandyism to shine through like the dramatic sleeve and elongated scarf. The notion of allowing Harris' own dandyism to shine through is particularly fascinating. It suggests that Kamara didn't need to impose a persona on Harris. Rather, he designed to amplify qualities already present in her. The dress wasn't creating something new, but unveiling something authentic that political constraints had previously hidden from public view. But perhaps most revealing was Kamara's assessment of why Harris was the perfect person to dress for this particular theme. The true core of dandyism is rooted in confidence and strength. There is no person who exemplifies these characteristics more than Kamala D. Harris, someone who has overcome adversity and continues to be a beacon for so many. In those words, we can see how Harris's Met Gala appearance transcends mere celebrity fashion. It becomes a statement about resilience, about maintaining dignity and style in the face of challenges, something Harris has demonstrated throughout her career, from her days as California Attorney General to the campaign trail to the vice presidency. This wasn't just another celebrity appearance at a fashion event. This was Harris reclaiming her narrative after stepping away from one of the most visible roles in American politics. After years of having every outfit dissected for political messaging rather than personal expression, Harris stood on those famous steps in a creation that was unabashedly bold, creative, and distinctive. Just days before the gala, Harris had already signaled her return to public life. At a San Francisco fundraiser last Wednesday, she delivered a fierce critique of the Trump administration, condemning what she called the abandonment of America's highest ideals. The crowd's response was electric, suggesting her voice still carries significant weight in political circles. That speech marked her first major political statement since leaving office, a deliberate choice to step back into the arena on her own terms. The timing creates an interesting juxtaposition. One night, she's delivering political fire in San Francisco. The next, she's embodying artistic resistance on fashion's biggest stage in New York. Then, immediately following the Met Gala, Harris was scheduled to appear at another fundraiser, this time for the Democratic National Committee. These aren't random appearances. They're the carefully orchestrated reemergence of a public figure who understands that influence operates across multiple domains. What we're witnessing isn't just a fashion moment or a political comeback. It's Harris crafting a powerful new identity that transcends traditional categories. She's not simply a former politician, nor is she reinventing herself as a celebrity. Instead, she's carving out a unique position at the intersection of politics, culture, and art, a space where few have successfully operated. For Off-White, having Harris wear their design represented an extraordinary milestone. "This is such an important moment for me and the whole Off-White community," Kamara said. The sentiment reflects how Harris's cultural significance extends far beyond conventional politics. For a brand founded by the late Virgil Abloh, a revolutionary Black designer who himself broke boundaries, having Harris choose their creation carries profound symbolic weight. The fashion world has long had a complicated relationship with politics. Some view it as frivolous compared to serious political matters, while others recognize fashion's power to communicate values and challenge norms. Harris's Met Gala appearance seems to embrace the latter view, acknowledging fashion as a legitimate form of cultural expression worthy of engagement by serious political figures. It's worth noting that Harris isn't the first political figure to grace the Met Gala. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made headlines with her Tax the Rich dress in 2021, and Hillary Clinton attended earlier galas during her pre-Secretary of State days. But Harris's appearance feels different, coming so soon after serving in one of the nation's highest offices, and at a moment when her political future remains an open question. Harris's Met Gala debut raises fascinating questions about power, visibility, and reinvention. Can a former vice president carve out a new type of public persona that bridges politics, culture, and art? Is Harris charting a new path for political figures transitioning out of office? In an era where cultural influence sometimes exceeds political authority, is Harris positioning herself at the vanguard of a new kind of public leadership? While many former politicians retreat to boardrooms or traditional elder statesperson roles, Harris appears to be pioneering something different, a presence that remains politically engaged while embracing cultural influence in new ways. She's neither disappearing from public view nor limiting herself to conventional political activities. Instead, she's expanding her repertoire, finding new platforms from which to communicate values and ideas. The Met Gala itself represents an interesting choice for Harris. It's simultaneously exclusive with its strictly controlled guest list and exorbitant ticket prices, and widely consumed through media coverage. By appearing there, Harris reaches both elite cultural circles and millions of ordinary people who follow the event through social media and news coverage. It's a strategic choice that maximizes visibility while maintaining a certain elevated positioning. Her Met Gala appearance wasn't just about wearing a beautiful dress, it was about showing that her story continues to evolve in surprising and meaningful ways. It was about demonstrating that power and influence can take many forms, sometimes in the halls of government, and sometimes on the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was about proving that leaving office doesn't mean leaving the stage, it can mean finding a different stage altogether. As we look at images of Harris ascending those famous steps, we're witnessing someone who understands that leadership in the 21st century isn't confined to political office. It's about cultural relevance, about connecting with people through multiple channels, about using every available medium to communicate values and vision. As Harris continues navigating her post-vice presidential life, one thing becomes clear. She isn't fading into the background. She's simply changing the stage on which she performs, bringing her unique blend of confidence, resilience, and yes style to new arenas. She's demonstrating that influence doesn't require a title, that impact doesn't depend on official position. In a world increasingly defined by image and narrative, Harris seems perfectly positioned to speak across cultural divides. Her legal background gives her intellectual credibility, her political experience provides insider knowledge, and now, her willingness to engage with cultural institutions like the Met Gala shows a versatility that few former officials have mastered. For younger generations especially, who often consume politics through cultural lenses, Harris's approach may resonate in ways that traditional post office paths would not. By appearing at the intersection of fashion, art, and politics, she remains relevant to conversations happening outside of Washington's corridors. And if this Met Gala appearance is any indication, we should all keep watching, because Kamala Harris isn't just attending cultural moments, she's creating them. In a world where politics and culture increasingly intertwine, Harris seems perfectly positioned to speak to both realms with authentic authority. This isn't the end of Kamala Harris's story. It might just be the beginning of its most fascinating chapter 1, where she defines for herself what leadership looks like after leaving one of the highest offices in the land. One where she continues to break barriers, not through title or position, but through presence and influence. One where she demonstrates that power comes in many forms, and sometimes the most effective statements are made not through policy proposals, but through the bold choices we make about how we present ourselves to the world.